Hello, I'm JC, and on this video I want to show you how you can integrate linear and how you can update linear issues from your Voiceflow agent. So let's get started. Here on Voiceflow I have a very simple flow just to have some example on how you can use the function that I created, a linear update issue. So for the workflow, I have I am capturing like first identifier, description, estimate, and priority, just to show you how you can use some information here to update your linear issue. And after I have that, I pass to the function, and then we have two paths, success or error, depending on the operation, on the success of the operation of the result. So let's first test this workflow and see how it works in general. And then we are going to take a look at the function and a couple of more things. So let's say we have like a button update issue to kick off the workflow. What is the identifier? So let's take a look here. We have this issue in linear, which says a user can reset a password, and it has this run description, actually like it was an error, but let's change it again. So the set priority is not set, and we also have no other information about it. So let's take a look. So what is the identifier? It would be like UA 2022. So this would be like this. If you have this information on your Voiceflow flow, it's better. But then, yeah, you can ask the user. Description. Let's say user, or let's say the button is disabled, and as a description. Then what is the estimate? You can use like I don't know, 10 points of estimation. And in terms of priority, it goes from 0 to 4, I think. So let's do something like 2. You can create buttons, or like you can create another workflow, like different, but just to show you how it works. So it says first, yeah, done, issue updated, and then you get some debug messages like the call was a success. So if we go back to the function, or like to the linear issue, we see that the description was updated, was corrected, and we also set the priority as high because we put like 2, and then we put like 10 points of complexity for estimation, and then the issue was successfully updated. So that is how you can update issues in linear. Let's take a quick at the function now. So here, once you import it and then you put it on your canvas, you have some input variable mapping from like data that you have on your flow, or like voice flow variables that you need to map to the function variables. So on the right side, you have the functions defined by the variables with these names. And from the left, you have the information that you need to fill in with your information or your own variables. So for example, it's asking me value or variable. So in this case, it's a variable, like a value, but the other things I have captured before on voice flow variables. And that's how it's mapped. For this function, I don't have output variables, but they will be here if you have one, or if you create one, and they will go from the left. It will be the ones defined on your function, and on the right, the things that you now are going to be able to use. If we click here and then we take a look at the function real quick, first we have at the top is validate inputs. That's another inner function defined at the bottom of this global function. So here you see validate inputs. I get all the variables that I'm getting from the outside, and then I put like a one if statement of validation for the value to be there, to be present. for each of the fields. So input description, like issue description here. So if you want to add more or remove, these are the ifs or the things that you need to change. And in terms of the return here, we return error if we don't have the information that we need. But basically, I have like these all ifs statements to validate. And in terms of path inputs and errors, we can take a look now. Like here is where you define everything about your function for the outside world to use on your canvas. So here are the names of the variables that I need. So issue identifier, issue priority, estimate, and linear API key. For output variables, I don't have, but you can define here once if you need. And for path, we have two: success and error. And these are the things that on the canvas you are going to map or use to do something, if a success or an error. And in terms of the function, after we validate that, at this point, we are sure that we have some value, and then we can use them. Here where we come to the interesting part, which is GraphQL. GraphQL is a little bit different from REST. I have worked with GraphQL before, and it's really great because everything is typed, and then you can get auto completion, and then you can take a look at what is available for as inputs, but also as outputs before developing anything and hitting an endpoint and see what is available on the API. You can take a look beforehand with the GraphQL endpoint because everything is typed. So two keys that you have to put on the payload is one is query, and another you can use is variables, like the variables feature from GraphQL. And the first, like let's take a look at the inputs. So you have like two identifier and inputs, like the inputs for the mutation. And that's another thing, like on REST, you talk about like operations to delete, create, update, or get. And you use the HTTP methods, so post, put, get, and delete. But on GraphQL jargon or land, you talk about queries and mutations. So you either get queries or you either use mutations for changing or mutating the data. And you also get types of like the inputs, or like everything is typed, and you have everything available. And you can take a look sorry, at the documentation on these links. But coming back, like we have some variables. So these keys are like you can change them. So I have identifier here, and this needs to match like the dollar ones that you have on this part of your query, and then you will get like this is kind of what you're passing, and then this is when you are using it inside your query, or like in this case, like the mutation string. But yeah, you can change, for example, input data. You can put input, and then it needs to match input here, and then it needs to match input there. The other things are mandatory, like there, these are the definitions of the mutation. So issue update is the name of the mutation itself. And then you need to put this information as it is, ID and input. And then you get to the other part, which is like the payload or the response. Another good thing about GraphQL is like you define what you want. You don't get everything from the endpoint. You only get what you put here. If you only need this, you only put this. If you don't need it, you don't put anything else. But then you can customize that, and that's all the data you're going to get. It has some advantages in terms of performance, so that is also good. Then we move on into the endpoint URL. Normally in GraphQL operation or like land, you only have one endpoint, and then what you change is the mutation of the query, but you don't change the endpoint at all. And for the configuration of the request, the most common thing is to use post. Just some very edge cases is where you might need to consider using get, but normally is put. Everything is served on the put HTTP method. And below that, you stringify the payload, and then you put the linear API key for the authorization, and you are set. And next we get into the try. So you get like the response like from the fetch call, and we get some validations like okay JSON. Another thing that you can check with GraphQL endpoints is the errors array. If it has something, you can read this information, you can manage it in a different way if you want, but at the moment I'm just checking if the key is there, because it means that we had some issues, but if not, we continue. And then we get into the data issue update success, and this is what we define, and this is what we are going to get. And if we don't have a success, we also issue an error to catch globally down below. But otherwise, we continue, and then we are sure that we have a success call, and we put the path as success. And I put in like returning the trace as a couple of debug messages, but we don't have output variables. And if we have some error at some point on the call, or like the response, we get into the catch part and we return the path error, and also a couple of one debug message here just to debug and see what has happened. That's for the function. Let's now take a look real quick how to work with the GraphQL endpoint, so you can change if you want, or if you need to add or more or delete some data or like some inputs. So if you click on any of these links, you go to the documentation on the studio of, in this case, Apollo, which is what Linear is using to build most likely their GraphQL. So Apollo offered this studio where you can first take a look at the schema. So you land on this URL, and from this you have two things to check if you want to update. First the payload, and then is the update input. So if you click on the update input, is the things that you can put on the variables input key here. So estimate, priority, and description. And this is what you can use to update things here. So you can pass, like I'm passing the estimate, but you can pass other things here as you wish. So that is for the issue update input. As I said, you have this information available, and then you have the issue payload, which is the response that you get from the operation on the call. So we were using at first, if you take a look, we were only using success. But let's say for the example that and as you see here, like success is the operation was successful, but we can also return data about the issue. So for example, let's say we go into the issue and we want to also return here, you have at the bottom, let's find it first. You have all this information you can return, but you can also return, for example, one of them is the URL. So what you would do here is to, since this is on the issue part, like on the issue key, you open here and then you put like URL, and that's how you would return that information as well. What we are going to do, uh, once you have that on the query string, then you can go here, and similar as I did with the response data.update, then you can do like data dot issue update dot issue, because that is the name of the key that the API is returning, and then you can use the information here, for example, URL. So that is one thing to consider, like if you need to change. The other thing that you can do about this GraphQL endpoint is like the Explorer. So if you go here on the Explorer, you can customize and then click around and then find the issue, like the query or the mutation that you need, which is really great because then you can have a good developer experience of first checking what is available on the information here in terms of inputs and outputs, and then start developing. So you can see what is available here. So for example, we just saw that on the issue part, you can click here and then it will be added onto your request, and at the end we added like the URL, and that's how you can customize this. You can then also customize the inputs. So for example, I'm passing the identifier for this particular issue, and I'm passing the estimate and the priority. So if I change that again, for example, let's use 4, and then let's update this with 2, and then the URL, and then I click issue update. I get only this information from the API, and that's great about GraphQL. And then you see like the keys data dot issue update dot the other things like success and issue and the URL itself. And you go back, and then you see that once again it was changed to low and to 20 points. So that is a great developer experience. On this Explorer, what you need to do is to do the authorization header here. And the place where you get this information is that if you go to your linear dashboard, click here, preferences, you scroll down a little bit to my account section, and then click on the API. At the bottom, you see this API documentation. This is what we saw before. And then on the personal API keys is where you click here, and then let's say test, put a label, and then create new API key, and then you click, and then you have it on your clipboard, and then you go back either to the Explorer or to your function definition and use it there. And the other cool thing I want to show you here from this is if you click here and then click operation to cure, you can copy all this string on your on a piece of document, and you can extract the piece that you need for the query, which is like from this opening quote mutation up to the last place where you see it, which is this one. So with that, you can even change more easily, like the things you don't need to remove, but I remove it just to keep it more clean. But yeah, as you see, you have like success, issue, and the URL as we changed before. And the queries, yeah, you also get more information like identifier or anything. But yeah, I find it useful to at least change the query string for the mutation. So that is how you can customize the function and then have more information either on the inputs or of the outputs of the operation. And that's how you can update an issue from your Voiceflow agent using this linear update issue function that you can get on here in the marketplace and import it on your project and start using it. You put the inputs here, and then it should be it. That's all for this one. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you on the next one. So that's all. Bye bye.